All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's meeting out of respect for everyone's time. Hello, my name is Michael Spaeth. I'm a principal planner for the town of Oro Valley and host of tonight's focus area meeting for the Palisades subdivisions. This meeting is part of the public outreach process for the private property owners' applications proposing new uses and standards at the Oro Valley marketplace. The requests are to permit the development of apartments, hotels, and an entertainment district with recreational amenities. Thank you for joining us this evening, as it is integral to hear from you. Our primary purpose tonight is to gather feedback from neighbors and provide you an opportunity to ask questions and comments. A formal neighborhood meeting was held in March of 2020 where we heard from many of you. Tonight, the applicant is going to present a revised plan addressing many of the comments heard during that meeting. Now for tonight's agenda. First, I will quickly provide information about the review process and ways for you to stay involved, provide a little background about the property. I'll briefly cover the applicant's requests and then summarize the community's feedback from that first neighborhood meeting. Next, Ms. Carrie Sylvan from Lazarus and Sylvan, representing the property owner, will provide detailed information about their proposal and any changes that were made since the first neighborhood meeting. Then it is your turn to ask questions and comments. Lastly, I will provide more information about the upcoming meetings as this process moves forward. I also wanted to let you know that an informational video has been posted on this project's webpage on ovprojects.com. If you haven't seen the video yet, we strongly encourage you to do so. Our number one goal tonight is to have a fair, efficient, and productive meeting. At this point, you may be familiar with online interactive Zoom meetings, but for those who aren't or just need a refresher, I will provide more information about how Zoom works and how to participate shortly. If anyone is having trouble using Zoom during the meeting, please contact Ms. Malini Sims, Principal Planner with the town, at 520-229-4836 for assistance. Tonight's meeting is scheduled to go no later than 7:30. And finally, I'd like to note that this Zoom meeting video and PowerPoint presentation will be posted on ovprojects.com as soon as possible. Comments will also be posted online in a neighborhood meeting summary and forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Town Council when they consider the applications. The applicant's proposal includes three separate yet related requests. First is a request to amend the existing zoning standards. Second is to reclassify the privately owned wash within the shopping center to allow for the development of the entertainment district. No changes to Big Wash are proposed. Lastly is to bring all the pieces together through a revised site and landscape design. I will go through each of these briefly later in my presentation, and the applicant is going to provide greater detail during her presentation. For these types of applications, the town requires applicants to engage in community outreach, as it is important to hear your comments and questions early and often. So where are we in the process? We are at the focus area meeting stage of the public participation process. Tonight's meeting is the third of 4. This process started with the in-person community-wide neighborhood meeting in March 2020, which had a significant amount of community input regarding the proposal. Since then, the applicant has provided a formal submittal and resubmittal with more specifics about the requests, which staff has been reviewing for code compliance. I previously mentioned that an informational video has been posted on ovprojects.com that was intended to provide updated information about the project prior to the focus area meetings. The 4 focus area meetings are scheduled throughout August, the purpose of which are to give immediate neighbors an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with the applicant about specific issues affecting their neighborhood. While focus area meetings are open to everyone, priority is given to neighbors in each focus area to provide an opportunity for this in-depth conversation. After the focus area meetings, a second community-wide neighborhood meeting is scheduled for September 13th. Please note this meeting had been previously scheduled for September 14th, but has since been moved to the 13th. This meeting is to bring the results of the focus area meetings together, view any proposed changes, and answer questions and hear additional feedback from the general public. The applicant's requests all require consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission and Town Council. The dates are not set for these hearings, but the public will have an opportunity to speak at each, and notices will be sent out in advance once scheduled. Property owners near the site and within each focus area will continue to be notified of upcoming meetings directly by mail. Yellow signs will be posted in multiple locations on the site, and information will continue to be posted on ovprojects.com. If you weren't notified about this meeting and wish to be for future meetings, please send us a request with your name and address to ask@oralvalleyaz.gov. Our focus through this public outreach process has been on the future of the development, but I'd like to provide a brief history on the property. The development's design was approved in 2006 through an extensive public participation process. The center opened in 2008 with over 800,000 square feet of retail, restaurant, and office space, and to date, a number of building pads remain vacant. A couple of important elements of the previous approval include the multi-use path along the edge of the development, which was recently redone, that connects to the larger county trail system. Also notable was the restoration of Big Wash, shown in green, which was restored from a previously degraded area to the dense vegetation seen today. This area is now owned by Pima County and is permanently protected as open space. The applicant is requesting to permit apartments and revise some zoning standards. Specifically, the applicant is seeking to adjust permitted building height for portions of the development and to reduce the building setbacks and buffer yards for portions along Oracle and Tangerine roads. Again, Ms. Sylvan will provide greater detail about their proposal, but as a brief overview, an apartment with a 70-foot height and a 49-foot tall hotel are proposed along Tangerine Road, shown as A and B on the image. A 49-foot tall hotel at the entertainment district is proposed where the C is located. An apartment with a 59-foot height and 49-foot tall hotel are proposed along Oracle Road, notated by the D and E. Letter F is an alternate location for the hotel proposed in location E. The applicant is also pursuing purchase of right-of-way along both of these roads to increase the developable area. Second is to reclassify the privately owned wash within the center, shown here in yellow, to allow for the development of recreational amenities, a gathering space, and event space known as the entertainment district. Lastly, to bring all the pieces together, the applicant is proposing a revised site and landscape design, which will show the design and circulation of the proposed apartments, hotels, and entertainment district, as well as details regarding the design of parking and circulation of the undeveloped areas. With regard to the applicant's requests, key concerns that were brought up during the first neighborhood meeting include the need for and amount of proposed apartment units, the proposed height of the apartments and hotels with regard to view impacts of the Catalina Mountains, parking and the amount of traffic the new uses will generate, specifically increased traffic along Oracle Road, lighting and noise associated with the uses and entertainment district, and lastly, the projected construction timeline and when new uses are proposed to be opened, specifically the uses in the entertainment district. Now that I've summarized those concerns, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Sylvan, representing the property owner, to provide more detail regarding their proposal and to discuss these previous concerns. Ms. Sylvan, we can see you. We can hear you. Go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Spaeth. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for taking your time out of I think we're on a Tuesday of this week. We're very excited about this project. We've been working with town staff since the neighborhood meeting in early March 2020, which I believe was at least our last in-person meeting before the global pandemic. Town staff has been working with us and we're excited to give you an update. Go ahead, Michael. First, I want to introduce the Town West team for those of you who weren't able to be there in early March of 2020. Town West Realty is a family-owned developer. They've been in the region for over 40 years. They purchased the Oro Valley Marketplace in September of 2019, and they continue to work hard on other projects and intend to work hard on this project to really create a successful development that the community can be proud of. Repositioning projects to see their full potential is a lot of what Town West does. You can see some of the projects that they've worked on over the years. Jossler Village, the Casa Presidio Apartments is actually on Fort Lowell and was one that the council member in the city of Tucson reached out and asked them to assist with, and is one of their more successful repositioning projects. Go ahead. The reason we're here, we all know where the location is. You all are very familiar with it since you live there, centrally located. This is an established area near existing infrastructure, and this 105 acres has been planned for development. So this is not a proposal out in the brand new area. This is ready for development. Major roads, both Tangerine and Oracle, and employment centers to the north and to the south. Go ahead. The challenge we have is we all know our relationships with bricks and mortar retail is changing. However, we do all still want to go out and we want places to interact. The challenge that we have with the current marketplace is a challenge that the entire community has. For the new owner, it needs to be financially successful. For the surrounding neighbors and new people who may be moving into the town of Oro Valley, they want places, and you all want places to gather for connection, entertainment, retail, and living spaces. And for the town, we need the taxes, the bed tax, sales tax, retail sales tax, all those revenues to really do what a town does well and provide the services that the community wants. So we really do need to figure out how to create the spaces for that connection, restaurants, including retail. And what we also know is there is a formula that works in other areas that are trying to reposition these types of projects. Go ahead. So the solution is turning the marketplace into what we're calling a village center. And we have all the components to make it successful. It's already planned for development, and we're proposing to develop on already graded areas of the project that are intended, engineered, and designed for those structures. Go ahead. We've done a lot of research and successful reimagining of centers in other cities and in the region. And what we've discovered is people are looking for lifestyle, entertainment, dining, special events, and special spaces for those events. And the areas that have been the most successful are ones that have also figured out how to incorporate residential and hospitality. So it's not just the existing residences that are supporting the project, but actually apartment residential on site, as well as hospitality. Go ahead. So this is a map of our opportunities for redevelopment. We want to turn these liabilities into assets. These are the vacant, a lot of these are the vacant graded sites. There's also the man-made drainage area in the middle of the site that can be activated and become more of a connector with this site rather than a dividing space that it currently is. And we can still accomplish the drainage and even keep some natural aspects to it, which is our intent as well. Go ahead. The concept is something we're calling retail-dential, creating a true village where people can live, work, and recreate in a walkable setting. This is the village center and vibrant environment. As staff already mentioned, there are kind of 5 distinct areas, and I'm going to walk you through them separately with updates on changes that have occurred over time. So I'm going to start. Go ahead to the next slide. We're going to start with the entertainment area, which is C, and you see it noted by the star. This is the center drainage area that we want, the man-made drainage area that we want to activate. Go ahead. We're excited about this space. It's the middle area we're calling the Oasis Park. This is a cultural, social, entertainment, lifestyle, and open space area. To walk you through it, over on the left side, for those of you who can see it, which is actually the north side up against Tangerine, We're envisioning a 1.4 acre versatile space for public events, art shows, seasonal ice rinks, those kinds of activities. Some events are already taking place on the Oro Valley Marketplace, and this gives them a purposeful space to happen. In addition, there'll be gazebos for shade and smaller gathering areas. In the middle area, adjacent to proposed first floor retail and a hotel, we're looking to do an entertainment activity area with things like a splash pad, sandy beach, playground, wading pool, places where people can gather. Water is important. We all know it's hot here, although it's been fabulous lately, if you can handle humidity. We know that water and shade are important to activate the space. We also know we need to be very responsible with our water as a resource. So we're hoping to create a space where maybe people choose to hang out here instead of doing things like creating their own swimming pools and other water resource areas. The south area, which is over on the right-hand side of your screen, is intended to be an extension of the open and gathering space, but more of an amenity for a cluster of restaurants, maybe a beer garden, other open space amenities, seating areas, restaurants. And we are working with the town as well on a noise study in that area so we can establish some best practices for noise mitigation in that area. Go ahead. The next two slides are going to show you some inspirational photos of other locations. Obviously, they would be adapted to the town and have a sense of the town, but you can see the use of the water. All of those have recycling mechanisms as well. Spots to do yoga or otherwise be. Go ahead. You can see some of the playground and the potential for a seasonal ice rink and Christmas tree lighting for those who were downtown pre the pandemic in downtown Tucson. The ice rink was very successful down there over the holidays. Go ahead. This is just a rendering, the next three slides that show the opportunity to create streetscape and how the building, the retail on the first floor and then the hotel on the next two floors would interact with the space. This is a space that'll be safer because people are actually staying there and will activate the space. And it's common to incorporate these types of uses. Go ahead. There's other renderings just getting in a little bit closer. Go ahead. And then this is from the other side. So if you're actually standing in this spot, the movie theater is actually to your right. So people can come out of the movie theater, come into the park area, enjoy some food. This is also where we may have some additional retail and restaurant. We already know we have Chard, San Carlos, Keg, the Olive Garden, and we know that we want to add more. What we do know is it's not overly intuitive. If you add clusters of restaurants, they all tend to be more successful. They don't cannibalize off of each other the way that many of us would assume. It really does create a space where people know they can get something to eat. So if one restaurant's full, you hop over to the next one. Go ahead. The hotel is a key component to this concept. So you see this is kind of the design with the parking, retail on the bottom floor, and that would be hotel and then on the next two floors. Go ahead. And this just gives the next 2 or 3 floors. This gives you a sense of what the hotel would look like. The Oro Valley Marketplace has some very stringent architectural guidelines. And so we did some renderings of how those architectural guidelines could be incorporated and would be incorporated into these buildings. I do want to note the hotels that we're going to show you are at 49 feet. The current zoning, as Mr. Spaeth mentioned, allows 39 feet plus 10 feet of architecture. So the old Dick's Sporting Goods utilizes that full 49 feet. So it's still within context and what's out on the site. We are requesting the 49 feet for the 3 hotels I'll be showing you for the project. Go ahead. Right, I'm going to swing you from that area C, which is the Oasis Park and Entertainment Center, over to the Tangerine Apartments, which is A. Those are going to look a little different for those of you who saw the presentation back in March. In working with staff, we had the taller of the apartments over on Oracle. And because Oro Valley Hospital is already over off of Tangerine at 75 feet on a higher elevation, we moved the taller apartments over to that area of the project. Go ahead. So this is a approximately 500 unit, 5-story with some corner lots. The height is 75 feet, which is no taller than the Oro Valley Hospital. And it's on a site that is actually lower than the Oro Valley Hospital. You'll see this is the ground floor level in the parking plan. So the parking will be underneath the building. Go ahead. This starts to show you the second, third, and fourth floor plan. So it's not a blocked building in the sense that the building is broken up with some spaces in the middle of the site. You'll also see the other amenities, the pool, a clubhouse, a gym, a dog park. Those are the kinds of amenities that will be part of the apartments. But we're trying to do enough amenities that it feels like a home for folks, but really encourages people to interact with the project, with the rest of the village. Mr. Spaeth, will you go back one slide? I just want to highlight something I forgot. The access for this, so this is back to the ground level. Sorry for the whiplash. You'll see over on the top left-hand side, there is a right in, right out access off of Tangerine that's just for residents. The primary access is actually off of Water Harvest Way. So you pull into Water Harvest Way and you can see it. You swing down and you turn either, well, if you're coming from Tangerine, you turn right into the project. So that's the access. And you'll also note that the loop is down on the southern edge of the project. So these would be apartments that are interacting with that loop. And we know Pima County has been working along the loop to encourage densification and people really living next to the amenity and using it. Now you can go forward 2 slides. Thank you. This is the 5th floor level. Again, it's the height is 75 feet, which is no taller than the Oro Valley Hospital across the street. Go ahead. We have a couple of elevations. When we say the height is at a maximum of 75 feet, part of that is to give us the flexibility as well to create the roof line modifications and some interest in the architecture. So it's not 75 feet all the way across. It's lower in a number of places, as you can see. And again, these incorporate the architectural elements that are required in Oro Valley Marketplace, soon to be Oro Valley Village Center. Go ahead. This is just another view from the southwest. And you can see a lower portion of Oro Valley Hospital peeking out over on the right-hand side of your screen behind the apartments. So really what this is blocking from a view standpoint is open sky and the Oro Valley Hospital, which is why we moved it over to this area. Go ahead. I'm now going to swing you over. We're going to do the apartments first. So I'm going to swing you over to the Oracle Apartments, which is letter D in the site plan. Go ahead. So this is these are the apartments that we lowered pretty significantly. We had some segments of this that were upwards above 75 feet, almost 80 feet when we were showing this back in March. This is a combination of a 4- and 5-story building. It is 229 units. It is on a lower elevation of the site, and this is where context definitely matters. Oracle Road is higher in a higher elevation in this area. Even at the lowest point, it's 10 feet higher than the grade of the site. The nearest adjacent home is to the west, is 22 feet above as well. and it's over 1,700 feet away from the edge of the Oro Valley Marketplace property. This gives you a sense of the design. Again, the parking is in the middle. There's a couple of levels of parking with the potential for some retail, leasing office, maybe a restaurant on the bottom, but mostly apartments. Go to the next, please. And this gives you, this is the second level plan, so you can still see the parking in the middle area. Go ahead. And then above the parking on the third floor, that's where the pool amenity courtyard all are. So it'll be surrounded by, in the clubhouse, surrounded by building. Same types of amenities where it's enough amenities to feel like home, but really encouraging you to interact with the village center. So it's four, I mentioned before, it's 4 and 5 stories. So the 4-story area, which is at least half, if not more, of the building, is between 43 and 49 feet. Again, that 49 feet is similar to the facade of the Dick's Sporting Good. And then the 5, go ahead to the next slide. The 5-story building has to be less than 50% of the building, and that could be as high as 59 feet. So that's the area that we're asking for a little bit more height than the 49 for the other areas. Go ahead. And then this shows you again, those are maximum heights. So what we're trying to do is vary the roof line and incorporate all of that all those architectural requirements. This gives you a view of the 4-story segment just from one of the corners. Go ahead. This is the pool area to give you a sense of how the building surrounds it. This would be for residents only, condo type development. Go ahead. And this gives you a little bit of the 5-story. And again, we're showing the architecture, and it's not, we're showing some roof line modifications as well. Go ahead. These are some of the inspiration boards that we use that are the residential incorporated in projects that really are part of these reprogramming and repositioning of projects. Go ahead. So now I'm going to shift us over to the hotels, and I'm going to do those together. The Tangerine Hotel is letter B, and the Oracle Hotel is letter E. And as Mr. Spaeth indicated, whether the hotel is in that location with letter E or shifted over to letter F, we're not sure, but it'll be at one of those 2 sites. Go ahead. Hospitality is great to add because it also means we have guests coming in and spending their money into the town of Oro Valley and adding to the tax revenue. We're going to be creating pedestrian connectivity from both hotels to the rest of the Oro Valley Village Center, as well as to the loop, and conform with the design guidelines. Go ahead. These are kind of the types of hotels that are both interested in the site and that start to look like the design guidelines that Oro Valley has that we have for Oro Valley Village Center. Go ahead. This gives you a sense of the Tangerine Hotel. This is probably about 150 rooms with the parking associated with it. Go ahead. And this is just an idea for the architecturally designed for the Oracle Road Hotel, which would be about 112 rooms. And I think I forgot to mention this, that the hotel over by the Oasis Park is proposed at just over 100 rooms. All of the hotels will meet that height that we're requesting, again, of the 49 feet. Go ahead. So this is our vision. I'm not going to read the slide to you because you can all read. But in order to achieve this vision we are discussing tonight, there are several approvals required. Staff went through them, the main ones, the PAD amendment for the height. Again, hotels at 49 feet, similar to the old Dick's. The apartment on Tangerine at 75 feet. Oracle Road, maining both at 4 and 5 stories. The 4-story is the same 49 feet, and the 5-story to the 59 feet. There's also the environmentally sensitive lands ordinance. Again, the man-made wash in the center area we want to activate, but still accomplish the drainage. And like I said, there'll be some areas that are that will still remain with some natural vegetation, and revise the conceptual site plan and the architectural approvals as well. We're looking forward to re-engaging. We all wish we were re-engaging in person, but appreciate your time, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Spade.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sylvan. Before we get started with your questions, I'd like to explain how you can all participate during this meeting. To ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand. There are 2 ways to do this. For those participating via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. You may need to use the passcode 411567. For those participating on the Zoom app or website, find the participants icon, click it to open a dialog box where you will see an option to raise your hand as shown on the right-hand side of this slide. Raised hands will be moved to the top of the list in the order in which they are raised. When it is your turn, please make sure you are not muted on your personal device and that your video is on by using the microphone and video icons shown on this slide. When I announce who is up to speak, I will also announce the next person whose turn it will be to speak, so that person is prepared. Again, if you are having any technical issues with Zoom or have further questions about my Zoom participation instructions, please contact Ms. Malini Sims anytime during the meeting at 520-229-4836 to request further assistance. We are going to do our best to get through everyone's questions and comments. Again, the focus of tonight's conversation is for residents of the Palisades subdivisions who will be given priority. If we have time remaining at the end of the meeting, I will ask for questions from anyone who does not live in one of those 2 subdivisions. Please keep your input to no longer than 3 minutes out of fairness to all participants who wish to be heard. I will respectfully remind folks of this guideline as needed, as the goal of this meeting is to have a productive conversation about the project and provide constructive feedback. Please keep that in mind as we move through the meeting tonight. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started with questions and comments, and please bear with me as I move between speakers. May take me a moment to unmute folks, and I'll also apologize in advance if I butcher anybody's last names. I will do my best to enunciate and sound them out. So with that, we'll be happy to take any questions. If you've got a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. All right, well, I don't see any at the moment, but we'll go ahead and just hold on for a sec to see if anybody has a question. Certainly can take comments too. If you've got comments, doesn't have to be a question. If there's a comment of any sort that you'd like to get on the record, we'll certainly take that as well. And as always, if you have another question or comment that comes up after our meeting tonight, feel free to email us and let us know, and we'll be happy to take that at ask@oralvalleyaz.gov. It looks like first up is Brian Baird. Again, I apologize if I butchered that. You should be ready to go. Did you want your video turned on, sir?
No, that's okay.
Okay, go right ahead. We can hear you.
I just have a question as what is a realistic timeline saying that all the approvals just go as you would hope. What's a realistic timeline to get construction and finish this? And as a comment, I remember them trying to get this going over there on La Cañada and the need for high density population. And I am full support of what they're trying to do there. I'm just winning. Win.
Okay, great. Thank you for your question. I will kick that over to Ms. Sylvan. Oh,
Thank you, Mr. Spaeth and Mr. Baird. You sound a little bit like my client. When can we get this done? We're hoping to be through the entitlements at the end of this year, and then it will probably take a little bit longer to get through some of the development plan process. We're hoping to begin construction towards probably the last quarter of 2022 and get stuff open as quickly as possible. The other thing I would point out is that we do have some spaces, vacant spaces in the current buildings, and there's a lot of interest, kind of waiting to see what happens with this proposal, and very hopeful. So I'm hoping what you'll see is some of that vacant space start to fill up, folks who are there continue to remain there, and then construction probably in late 2022, early 2023.
okay.
2021. Did I do that right? Am I missing a year? No, I think that was right. Yeah, 2022, 2023.
Sounds right. Yep.
Sorry, I lost a year with a global pandemic. I apologize for that.
I think we all did. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Brian. Up next is Beth. Well, actually, let me ask first, Brian, did that answer your question? Did you have another comment?
No, that's it. And thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Next up is Beth Sellers. Go ahead and make sure you're unmuted on your end if you could. And yep.
Okay.
Yes. Would you
You
like
can
your
hear me
video
okay?
turned on?
That's okay. Two questions and then a couple of comments. Number one, what is the capacity rate of hotels in Oro Valley right now? Does anybody know the answer to that? And the same question applies to apartment buildings, because a lot have been built in the last 5 years. And are they at full capacity? Do we really have a need? And I forgot how many apartments, it seemed like it was 800 and something apartments you were building. Do we really need that many apartments? And the hotel space, yeah, same question.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Ms. Sylvan, if you maybe want to tackle the first one, I can take the second one.
Sure. I'm not sure which one I'm answering, Mr. Space.
Oh, the hotel one. Sorry.
Okay. The hotel, there is it's a good question. We have not done a hotel study. However, there is significant desire. What we're seeing is as we're coming out of the pandemic, there is a huge desire to travel. And the hotels in this area are filling up. I don't have actual data. What we know is that the hotel flags and users are crunching those numbers, and they are reaching out pretty constantly to the ownership and are interested. We also know from talking to some of the employers in the area that they are very interested in both the apartment living and hotels, because the workforce has become very mobile. And so they've got a lot of people who come here for short periods of time and need hotel rooms and really want to be close to that employment that's just north. And then they want to do some conferences and they don't want to build conference space, those kinds of things. And then they also have people who are coming for slightly longer periods of time, but still what we would call temporary, and they want the apartment living. And so these are things that the employers most recently, and the ones that have been here for a long time, have indicated that they really want to stop feeding those uses to areas other than Oro Valley and start keeping the tax base in Oro Valley. Mr. Spaeth, I'll turn the apartment study over to you. I think that's where you were going.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sylvan. And yeah, Beth, to answer your question, so the town actually just recently commissioned an apartment study as part of a larger housing inventory analysis for the town that we're embarking on. And the apartment study was very comprehensive. It used qualitative and quantitative data sets to evaluate all of the apartment complexes in town. And it actually found that all of the apartment complexes are about 96% full. So about a 4% vacancy rate, which is very high for apartments across the country, but also higher than average for apartments in the whole Tucson metro region. So there definitely is still a demand for apartment units, and that growth is expected to continue within the town. So I hope that, does that answer your question? I'll give you a chance to unmute if it didn't.
That helped out tremendously. I'm glad to see they're being fully utilized almost. My comment on apartments are, we have a lot of them at this end of Oracle already. And so you're proposing those 3 hotels and 2 apartment buildings. Yeah, that's great. I like the concept of doing all this stuff in the marketplace. Don't get me wrong about that. I don't like 75-foot apartments. Just don't like it. You relate it to the hospital, and that's great, but the hospital's set back. It's not right there on the road. It is going to block the view of the mountains, and that's the whole reason we're all living where we're living in Oro Valley, is to get that view of the mountains. So if we could keep it at 3 stories, I'd be real happy. I'd be just perfectly fine with those, and that's how it was first proposed, and I was a big supporter of it back in that point in time. The second thing I want to say is on the bike trail that's near there. Beautiful job, Oro Valley, for repaving that thing. It was desperately needed, but that bike trail is sorely undersized for the capacity today. And so when you add 800 apartments or whatever your apartments was that it added up to, and 350 hotel rooms, because we know people come from all over the world to ride the trails in Oro Valley and Tucson, and that's great. That bike trail is undersized. It's not going to be able to hold it. The way you get on and off of it from Tangerine, it's a catastrophe. You've got one that's going up past the hospital, a bike trail, but it only goes maybe a half mile up there or something. If that could be extended on so you could take some of the traffic off of the marketplace, that'd be really helpful. And I know you constrain on that marketplace bike trail because of the wash being on one side. You've got all those row of trees on the other side in the streets. So I don't know how you would add capacity. Maybe you run it through this whole development that you're doing in the marketplace. It runs, you have another trail system that runs behind all of this stuff so that people have options and we're not crowding into each other. I see lots of accidents. So, and I'm a big, like I said, I use these trails. I really like them a lot. It's one of the great things about being in this part of the country. And so the noise and the traffic, that is an issue. The Tangerine and Marketplace intersection, there are accidents that happen there quite frequently. And so we're adding, I don't know how many more thousands of people to that traffic intersection right there, but people aren't obeying the rules right now. So what's it going to look like when we get this higher density of population trying to use the traffic flow there? Is there a way you can sit down and restructure that whole traffic pattern? It is a problem. I mean, people have died.
Yep. No, thank you very much. And I can certainly add a couple things there for you. So yes, the applicant will be providing a traffic impact analysis as part of these applications. So traffic will be thoroughly evaluated by all the town engineering staff and traffic specific folks to take a look at that and see what those new numbers look like after the proposed applications. So we are certainly evaluating that. On the expansion northward of the multi-use paths by the hospital, I can actually tell you we are working with Pima County on doing that. So that is an ongoing effort that we hope will be completed as soon as possible. So yeah, a total agreement there to try and alleviate some of that congestion down by the marketplace. And Beth, if you wanted to email us your contact information, whether that's a phone number or just your email address, we're happy to look further into the occupancy of the hotels in the area and see if we can get a little bit more detail on that for you. I don't have that information at the moment. I apologize, but be happy to do a little more research for you. So if you want to send some information to us at ask@orovalleyaz.gov, we'd be happy to follow up on that for you. So, and I would like to just make it clear too for everybody else in the meeting that it's not just now for Palisades folks. So if there's anybody else in the meeting who's not a resident of Palisades who has a question or comment, by all means, please go for it. I did get a note that Devin Sloan has been trying to raise their hand, but was unsuccessful. So let me go ahead and call on you. Make sure you're unmuted on your end if you could. Yep, there you go. Do you have video? Would you like that turned on?
No way, Michael. Thank you.
Okay. Go right ahead. We can hear you.
Hey, just comments. Y'all have just heard about one of the most exciting things to happen in Oro Valley since the Oro Valley Marketplace was built in 2008. This re-imaging of the marketplace is just what Oro Valley needs. The Oro Valley Village Center will be just that, a center where all of us, young and old alike, can meet, play, visit, shop, dine, live, and where out-of-town guests can drop their tourist dollars in our community. Currently, the marketplace has less than about 24 storefronts and almost that many empty ones. It just never felt like Vestar, who originally developed this area, worked very hard to bring in additional shopping or services that our community needed. On the other hand, Town West, a local company in Tucson for over 40 years, has already brought in a Thai restaurant, a barbecue restaurant, and coming soon, a furniture store. They know that this is an important area for us and that their reputation's on the line. They want to do a good job, and they're listening to our questions, suggestions, and have made some changes based on those. And I'm sure they're going to take into consideration the suggestions that have been made tonight. I believe they can be trusted to do the right thing for Oro Valley. So, what would you rather see? A mall which has almost as empty storefronts as actual businesses, or a thriving area where you can gather with family and friends to enjoy our beautiful community, public events, recreational opportunities together? I choose the latter, and I hope you all will agree. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Paul Kiesler, our town engineer, to provide some additional clarification on the traffic question.
Thank you, Mr. Spade.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Spade. I do need to correct a couple things for the previous speaker. We do have a traffic analysis for this project. That traffic analysis was reviewed by the town, and I need to break this down into a few different subjects so everyone is clear. Today, the marketplace has a lot of vacancies. However, when the traffic was originally designed back in 2006, it was designed for the full build out of the center. So that full build out would produce quite a bit more traffic than what you're experiencing today. Let's not mince words with that, and I don't want to falsely represent that there's not more traffic. However, the difference between what was originally designed and what is proposed with this new development, the traffic character is fairly similar except for one instance. So there's, looking at the calculations, there's about an 11% increase daily. That's over the entire 24 hours of traffic. So it's within that margin. It's within the margin of safety with regard to how the intersections were built. The intersections can handle that traffic volume. The only difference between what's being proposed, again, for absolute clarity, And what full build out would be if the marketplace remained as is in the morning peak hour. The morning peak hour generates about 215 more cars throughout the entire site. And the character of the traffic is different because with hotels and with apartments, you're going to get more exiting in the morning than you ordinarily would have experienced had it stayed all retail. In the morning, had it stayed all retail, you're really looking at an influx of vehicles, not an exiting of vehicles. So if you want to boil down what that 215 extra cars in the AM peak hour is, it's roughly about a 5% increase on Oracle Road. Now in Tangerine, the increase is a greater percentage. However, Tangerine is so underutilized right now. It's barely at a registering capacity. It's just not a heavily used road at this time, and nor would it really be with the inclusion of this particular development. So from a full disclosure, the traffic will be completely the same again, except for in the morning rush hour, and then that is very minimal compared to. And I said that 5%. That's 5% increase as opposed to what's already on Oracle Road right now. That's what you'd be looking at. Now, I do want to address the intersection of Water Harvest Way and Tangerine. We have had some fatalities. There are 2 fatalities. One is where, actually both of them were running the red light on Tangerine. So one was the rear end that pushed the car out into traffic. The other was one that just went straight through and hit and T-boned another car. Those were tragic events. Those are not due to the volume of traffic that we're talking about going in and out of the marketplace. So that was actually Tangerine traffic, which is, again, to this day is still very, very light. The intersection itself has been designed for this capacity. Are there accidents in intersections? You betcha. Are there accidents in large intersections, which this one is? Yes. But there is an added benefit of more congestion. More congestion actually creates a slower traffic pattern, and it helps. I know this seems counterintuitive, but it does help with safety elements. When you slow people down and when you get more stop traffic, particularly at an intersection of this size. So those are really the big points that I wanted to add as far as traffic, and I hope that answers the questions of the previous resident who was asking, and I'm happy to answer anything else. Thank you, Mr. Spaeth.
Thank you, Mr. Kiesler. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to provide? Give you a few moments to get those in if you'd like. All right, well, I'm not seeing any, so I guess, oh, Betsy. All right, we got one just in the nick of time. Betsy Elizabeth Neal.
Hi, this is Ed Schultz. I'm Betsy's husband.
Hello, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
Great. The question I have is related to once approval is given for this development, is there any assurance that the entire development will be built? I guess I'm thinking of a scenario where maybe the apartments are put up, but the entertainment district is not, for whatever reason. Is there, the site as it currently exists, you say they're empty pads, so clearly what was proposed was never completed. Would there be any assurance that the key elements of this development would be built out once approval was received?
Sure, thank you for the question, Ms. Sylvan.
Yeah, very good question. So we are working as part of the application with town staff to tie some of this timing together for exactly that reason. The intention of Town West is to do the Tangerine Hotel, I should say the Tangerine Apartments, the Oasis Park, that whole entertainment area, and that hotel as part of phase 1. And that's the goal. What we have been working with staff on is there's recreation requirements for any apartment that's already in code. And we are meeting some of those recreation requirements in that entertainment area. So we're very much tying those two together, because we have indicated that the apartments, it's a little over 700 apartments, are really something that existing retailers and future retailers are looking for. They definitely know that the folks who live around us, right, you being one of them, are hopefully going to be coming, but having people living there is really key to making a project like this work. And at the same time, we know that we're talking about this great space that we want to create. So we're figuring out how to tie it together through phasing and through the technical code requirements, so that some of that stuff has to happen as we do each of the pieces. And I don't know exactly how that's going to be phased, but you'll be happy to know it's a large part of our discussions for exactly the reason you pointed out.
Okay, great. Thank you much. Did that answer your question, Ed? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Well, with that, I don't see any other hands up, so I'll go ahead and get to the finishing remarks here and respect everybody's time. Lastly, I'd like to conclude by inviting everyone to stay engaged in this process. The video and PowerPoint presentation for all 4 focus area meetings will be uploaded to the project's webpage on ovprojects.com once completed. The next opportunity to hear about the project and provide feedback will be during the second formal neighborhood meeting in mid-September. I would like to again reiterate how vital it is to hear your comments and questions. Community participation is what makes Oro Valley a special place. Please send any questions and comments to ask@orovalleyaz.gov. Thank you again for your attendance this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at the second neighborhood meeting scheduled on September 13th. Stay in the know about all the upcoming meetings and project information by checking ovprojects.com under the project name shown on this slide. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful evening.